so bad. So now I'm. Hey everyone! So I officially started 6 minutes late because I actually, when I logged into StreamYard, I thought I was live, and so, but I thought the software had changed, which didn't show the number of people in the room, but people were commenting, so I thought that meant that I must be live. But apparently, I wasn't live, and y'all are wondering where the hell I was. So hello everybody. This is where we're at right now. Day two of the snowstorm in Arkansas. Actually, it's not just Arkansas. 6 minutes late, the nerve of me. I know, I'm sorry, Christy. That's just how I roll. I make people wait for me because that's how I roll. But I wasn't 6 minutes late. I was like 30 seconds late, and I was sitting here wondering why it wasn't showing anybody in the room. You guys, this is a snow day. Everybody that's snowed in, we can just hang out together, have some fun today. I will try to make it as entertaining and fun. We'll talk disc golf. I did not answer any of the questions that came into my Discord server, scottstokely.net/Discord. And the reason I didn't is because Discord's on my phone. I didn't realize I could access Discord on the computer. I was like, how the heck am I supposed to answer these questions? Turns out I can. So now I got me computer here and I can answer the Discord questions. But if anybody has any AMA questions in the comments, feel free to shoot them over as well. Thanks. So I appreciate. Christy says she's going to let it slide because I'm groovy. Yeah, I appreciate the reference that only about 8% of the disc golfers will actually get. So for the rest of you, groovy means good thing. Actually, I still use the word groovy, but I still also say tripendicular. So what are you going to do? Hello, John David Putney. Hello. Hey, what's up, Christian? Al, I got one of my dearest, closest friends in all of the Philippines, who's also one of the top rising stars. He just finished 8th place at a big tournament out in Asia. He is the top disc golfer ever to come out of the Philippines, Christian. Even you, Spiffy. I haven't heard Spiffy in a while. Spiffy's a good word. Hey, so I'm going to get to the AMA in a minute, but let's talk about words that we need to bring back. For those of you who didn't play Frisbee in the early 80s, there did not used to be, so the two angles of the disc, which we call hyzer and anhyzer, those were not the original names of the disc angles. The original name of the disc angles were hyzer and mung, M-U-N-G, mung. So it wasn't called anhyzer, it was called mung, hyzer and mung. There was a magazine, a Frisbee magazine out called the Mungazine. The first disc golf pro shop the one I purchased, which was like the second standalone disc golf store, was called the Mungazine store. And then mung kind of fell out of use. And then mung disappeared from the English language until about 10 years ago when it reappeared for the first time on South Park. And South Park, according to South Park, said that mung is what comes out of a pregnant lady when you squeeze on her belly. So I was thinking of starting a campaign to try to recapture the word mung from South Park. I think it's possible. I think if we all rally together. The problem is I don't think most of the people in disc golf want to start calling anhyzers mung. But it's a good word though. I stand by my my opinions. All right, hey, so y'all can feel free to comment. That's fantastic. If you have any questions, you can ask them, and I'll scroll down the comments in a minute. But for now, let me get to my Discord questions that I did not answer yesterday. So let me see if I can fix the tripod sitting in front of me. I just learned how to operate the tripod. Hope you all are impressed. Probably not. Okay, so go check that out. Used a tripod all by my old man self. All right, so let me open up our Discord server. Let me get to the questions that came in. Oh, this is so great. I did not know I could access this on my computer. I've been on the phone only. This is much easier. ScottStokely.net/Discord. We do a bunch of cool stuff on this. This is kind of like the inner circle for like Stokely Discs, but we actually have channels for everything from mental health. I have a channel in there for addiction and recovery. I got a channel in there for special needs disc golf. We also, of course, just talk regular disc golf, but I post a lot of stuff there first, and I'm getting more and more active in there. But it's a cool community where we talk about things. I also do live streams in there where I talk about things that are maybe more, they're not more mainstream. I don't know how else to say it, but like we'll talk about, like I have a group where like a bunch of guys get together. We talk about relationships and things like that, stuff that doesn't really fit onto like the disc golf main channel, but it has a place within the, this community. So it's kind of cool. Yeah, because men are still people too. Did you know that? Yeah, men are people too. By the way, when I was younger, men were actually considered people, but they're starting to be considered people again, it sounds like. So we're we're trying to figure it out. We're trying to talk. And again, this has nothing against not wanting to talk to women. I can't speak on women's issues for obvious reasons. But all right, here we go. Let me scroll down to the questions that came in. Where is it? All right. We're getting there. We're getting there. Give me 1 second. Anyone? There we go. AMA feedback. And then, of course, why is this? Oh. Okay, so the first question I got, which I can't even see. Oh, it's from Scott, says, when was the first time I met Tom Monroe, and what effect did he have on my game, if any? So for a lot of you might not know, Tom Monroe, a dear friend, one of the most important people in the history of disc golf. He's on some people's Mount Rushmore of the most important people in disc golf. Passed away. Was it earlier this year, or was it last year? It was already like, it's already been. Oh no, I mean last year. PDJ number 33. He put in countless courses back east. And the thing about Tom is that I was friends with Tom, but there were a million people who were friends with Tom Monroe. I was not one of Tom's closest people. Like he had definitely an inner circle of his closest friends and his oldest friends. But he had cancer, and he through a friend asked me if I would do his online memorial, which was like I was moved, and I was incredibly honored that he would ask me to do this. And but I did it because I think it's an opportunity, because I have a more modern audience. I have a connection to the old game. I was there just about at the beginning, but I have a connection to a modern audience. So I did the same thing for PDGA number 2, Victor Malafronte, where I can do an online memorial, bringing in all of these old timers, old friends, but also introduce them to the people that might not know them. So I did Tom's memorial, but I first met Tom in Sweden at a tournament in 1985. Not much memory of him, because in 1985 I was 15 and I was only focused on playing. I don't know if I remember anything about it other than practicing putting, because I was pretty driven. But I will give you one funny Tom Monroe story. It has become my favorite story, which is Tom. This is before he passed. He had a pretty good idea when his time was coming. They gave him a pretty narrow window, and getting close towards the end, and we knew we were going to be doing his memorial at some point here, probably pretty soon. Tom actually had a couple days where he felt better. Like, that's the way it works. Some that you have good days and bad days. And Tom started to have a couple of really good days. And so Tom reached out to me and asked if we could do his memorial now while he's still alive so he could be there. Uh, I think that's pretty sick. Unfortunately, things the way it works turned and it didn't end. He didn't continue to feel good enough to do it, but it would have been kind of fun to do a memorial for somebody while they're still alive. Yeah, Tom was a legend. Who is the best sidearm thrower? Tristram says, who is the best sidearm thrower on tour coming into the new season? All right, you guys, I'm going to say something. Feel free to disagree all you want, but I think the best sidearm thrower in the world right now is Chandler Kramer. Now, I know he's the only really sidearm dominant player out there, so it might seem like an easy answer because he throws all sidearms. But I'm going to back up my argument that Chandler Kramer has the best sidearm in the game by saying I think right now he's rated like, let's say 10, I think he's in the mid 1020s, 1025-ish, something like that. And the reason I say he's the best sidearmer is that there are players, let's say like a Ricky Wysocki, okay, who has a dominant sidearm, right? Eagle McMahon, dominant sidearm. Take a couple players like that who are rated in the 1040s. They're averaging like 3 or 3.5 strokes around ahead of Chandler. Here's my question though. If those players only threw sidearm, would they lose 3 or 3.5 strokes around if they threw only sidearm? If the answer is yes, if they would drop by 3 or 3.5 strokes around only throwing sidearm, then that means their rating with sidearm only would be below Chandler's. And I'm going to add to this by saying that Chandler's, everybody in the Pro Tour is good at putting, but Chandler's not considered one of the top putters on tour. Ricky and Eagle have better putting stats than Chandler. So even if they had identical ratings, if they threw only sidearm to Chandler, because they output Chandler, but with the same rating, that would mean that Chandler's sidearm was a tick better. So just my opinion, not the hottest take in the world, but Chandler Kramer has he has the best sidearm in the world right now. My opinion. Oh, hey, by the way, and I'm going to be doing this, and if you don't like it, I apologize because I didn't used to do this at all with my live streams, but I have to do better. I am trying to make this disc company successful. Like it has to be successful. My entire life is tied up with Stokely discs. If you have improved your game because of my tutorial videos or my classes, if I've done things that you feel entertain you, but that's not as important as playing better. The way you can show your appreciation for how I've helped your game. Maybe I've shown you how to throw properly so you're no longer hurting when you play. Try Stokely discs. That's how you could return the help I've given you. And I'm not telling you to throw Stokely discs. I'm not telling you to throw anything because I want you to throw what you feel is best for your game. I'm asking you to try Stokely discs because these discs are every bit as good as the major manufacturers' discs out there. And if you continue to support this company, it's just going to give me more time to make more tutorial videos, do more fun stuff for the sport. So it's very symbiotic, but go to StokelyDiscs.com and try it. This is the Paragon. It's an unbelievably good high-speed driver. This is the Dallas Garber Contrast Ren. Let me show you a couple of these. Look at that. I mean, they're beautiful discs, but they're also fantastic plastic and they fly great. So give Stokely discs a try. You're going to love them. And then make sure you, when you do, make sure you tell everybody how awesome they are. All right. Chris says, what is my experience with building disc golf courses? And do I have any tips for convincing ball golf courses management to build one on their grounds? So the tips are, it's really simple. It's a financial decision. Like, I don't think many ball golf courses are going to put a disc golf course on the perimeter simply because of the love of the game. Maybe there might be some, but for the most part, it's a financial decision. My understanding, and if I get the numbers wrong, I'm telling you what I heard, so I might be incorrect. But something like 10% of privately owned ball golf courses now have disc golf on their course as well. And a large percentage, maybe close to all of them, will say this saved their course. You know, ball golf has a hard time making money for a lot of reasons. When they add disc golf, especially when the course doesn't interfere with the ball golf course, they're adding revenue without losing the revenue from the ball golfers for the most part. They're adding greens fees, cart rentals, pro shop sales, and there are lots of these private courses that'll tell you that we would not be open if it wasn't for disc golf. Maybe they were just hanging it, breaking even, or maybe they're making a little bit of money, but not enough to justify not selling the course to put condos up. They put in disc golf, and it's that extra X amount of dollars a year to stay in business. So what I would do is I would talk to them about the finances, and then also bring to them references of other ball golf courses that have had the experience of putting in disc golf and how it went. Virtually all of them tell the same story. They put in disc golf. The ball golfers at first, some of them pushed back a little bit. And when they mention it, the people that own the ball golf course say, well, we weren't going to have a course if we didn't do something. So you can't even play here because it's not a ball golf course anymore if we're out of business. And then after a little bit of time, they do start to coexist much better. And then a lot of the ball golfers try disc golf and they go, oh my God, that's really fun. And that went better than I thought. So you got to go to them with the financial, but also reassure them that it can work with some growing pains. But that's my advice. And contact the PDGA and or UDisc, I think, is probably the first two places to start there. All right. Howling Wolf says, how do I explain to my friend that I can't stand MVP made discs? Just a personal preference, not a fan of the feel in my hand. Streamline is okay, but not MVP or Axiom. And the way they create supply and demand problems is wrong, in my opinion. He is like the biggest MVP fan. Here is some context. I made a bet in December with a game of putting with a friend, and I was doing well, but lost by a lucky shot. But the bet was I throw a full bag of MVP Axiom Streamline for a year unless I get sponsored. But all team applications are done for everyone. By the way, we don't have applications, he points out. And I'm a man of my word. I've just played my first PDJ event of the year, but I lost. Well, I did okay, but I missed my Lark. Where's the Larks? The Lark from Stokely Discs, StokelyDiscs.com. He says that any advice for playing better without my Lark Ren? Nothing compares to them. So first of all, I appreciate the kind words. So I love MVP. I love Brad and Chad. I've known them since the 90s. Really, really good guys. You know, they're doing business in a way that's in the best interest of MVP, which is, I'm a pretty diehard free market capitalist. Like, they're doing what's best for their business. Those decisions that they make aren't necessarily going to make every retailer happy. That's just the nature of business, right? You can't make everybody happy, especially when you're doing what's best for your business. Sometimes that doesn't correlate with what's best for everybody's business. I mean, you get these win-win situations where I'm going to do this cool thing that makes money, that's going to make you money. And when that happens, you know, it's a win for everyone. But, you know, that's not always what happens in business. So I wouldn't hold that against MVP. I would just hold that up against you are part of the free market. Who do you push? Who do you sell? You have to carry MVP. They're so popular, right? But you get to decide in your store who you recommend, who you suggest, right? That's entirely up to you. That's how you vote with your wallet in a free market. So MVP does things the way they do, and then you vote with the wallet, just like the customer does. But you don't have to explain why you like a company or don't like it. You know, that's just personal choice. I mean, I love that you love Stokely Discs. I love that we've become friends and that you're a supporter of Stokely Discs. Please keep being a supporter of Stokely Discs. I need you. Yeah, I'd say that I let the free market work, and you play your part and vote with your wallet. Waz says, why is your coach named Tyler so good looking? That was Waz's question.
I would say probably genetics.
You think it's genetics? Yeah, I would say it's correlation, not causation. I only have people on my team that are incredibly good looking. We have the best looking team in all of disc golf. We have the best looking employees, and dare I say, the best looking owners of any disc golf company in the world. You heard it here first. Says the 56-year-old.
Yeah, but aren't all the other owners or founders like
They're all
in
older.
their 80s?
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
So yeah, you got kind of the advantage there.
Yeah. So here's the thing about compliments. Whether I make a compliment about myself or whether I compliment someone else compliments me, when you're 56 years old, every compliment is either followed by comma for your age, or it's followed by a period, and the person making the compliment is thinking for your age. Like I get all the time, like, oh my God, you really throw far for your age. Oh my God, you're in really good shape for your age. Wow, you really shot well. Like you finished, 50th at a pro tour event. That's really good. So anyways, yeah, so
That's really good no matter what you're
what, 50th on the pro tour? I guess it's still pretty good no matter what, but
it's really good.
It's not good compared to 49 other people. To 49 other people, 50th place was terrible. So yeah,
It would have been terrible. No, it would have been really good if they were 21.
If they were 21, it would have been good to finish 50th. I still want to win though. No, so anyways, yeah, I happen to think I'm devilishly handsome. Comma, you agree for my age. All right. Scott, I remember John Houck. This is from John Putney, Puntney. I always say Putney for some reason. I read it as John. I read you as Putney, even though I know that's not how you pronounce it. Anyways, hi, Scott. I remember John Houck once telling me about a tournament at a course he designed where it was biased enough towards right-handed players that you said you had a rough time at the event. He later said that you got frustrated and ended up apologizing that to you after the round. I wonder if you remember that moment, and if so, what is your side of the story? So, okay, I'll give you a little bit of background. So back before the 90s, let me rephrase. In the 90s, I was the only player on the tour who was throwing sidearms off a tee pad. Unless you had a little 200-foot little dinky shot, which there were 200-foot holes back in the 90s. Nobody's throwing sidearm off the tee pad. Everybody's throwing backhand. And of course, the vast majority of players are right-handed. And the vast majority of courses were built by right-handed players who were building right-handed hyzer holes. There is no doubt that in the earlier days of the sport, there was a bias towards holes that flew right to left, right-handed backhand hyzer holes. And that was a problem for left-handed players. Like left-handed players complained about how the courses were all righty courses. And that was actually true. They were. Now, that's on the surface. Okay. The reality is they weren't righty holes. They were lefty sidearm holes. The fact that nobody in the sport was throwing sidearms is or at least, at a high competitive level, that has always to me was the fault of the players for not having those shots. So they were right-handed backhand holes to me. I would have preferred lefty holes, to be honest, because I had a better sidearm than a backhand as far as the accuracy went. So I don't remember the incident, but I do remember that courses used to be very much biased one direction. Now that's really not the case. You almost never hear that. You notice a course that actually is favors one shot over the other, and it almost favors the other shot more, if anything. But they're balanced now. So no, I don't remember it, but courses used to be very biased. Whisper says, "Hey Scott, what was your favorite disc back in your Discraft days?" Just a reminder, by the way, this is coming off of my Discord server, scottstokely.net/Discord. There's so much cool stuff happening there related to disc golf, or not all disc golf. We talk about everything on my Discord server, from sobriety and recovery to mental health to physical health to special needs disc golf to disc golf. Also, this is where a lot of the and progressively more of this anything related to Stokely discs. As this Discord server grows, it's going to go Discord server first. So if you're on the Discord server, you are going to be part of the inner circle, you're going to be getting stuff first. You're going to know about Stokely disc stuff before anyone else in the sport. So I encourage everybody to join. We have a lot of fun there. It's a great group. What's my favorite? What was my favorite disc back in the Discraft days? Hypothetically, how far do you think Scott could get a high-speed driver to go? Okay, so my favorite disc back then, hands down, was the X Clone, right? Like, period. Like that was the only overstable disc that Discraft really had back then. Innova only had a couple. They had the Viper and the Whippet, which were good discs, and they had a Phoenix, which was not as good of a disc as the Viper was great, and so was the Whippet, and so was the X Clone. So it was definitely the X Clone because that was our only overstable disc. In fact, for years, I threw the X Clone on like short holes, even though it's a driver, because it was overstable. I chose the overstability as opposed to a slower disc because those are the options. We didn't have a lot of options back then. How far do I could get a high-speed driver to go? Back in the day, I could throw very, very hard. I threw. Here's my metric that I'll leave everybody with, because it's hard to compare players to different generations in the game of golf and other sports. But distance is a lot easier to quantify because I can tell you how far I threw a disc. You can go get that disc and go throw it and compare the distance. Like the disc hasn't, like this technology has changed, but an X Clone is an X Clone. You can buy an X Clone from the 90s. You can throw it and compare it to my farthest throw. So there is something that we can measure against. When I set the world distance record, the Guinness World Record for the longest throw of a flying disc, and this is with a whole tournament full of witnesses because it was at an event, there was not one single breath of wind. It was absolute dead still. So I have a measurement of a disc in conditions that literally can be replicated. I threw an X Clone 656 feet. I think an X Clone is probably a speed 6. If it's not, it's a speed 7, but I think it's probably more like a speed 6. So I've always thought like this is great. Like I would love to see how I compare to the modern distance throwers, because I know on speed I threw 91 miles an hour with a golf weight disc, which is about as fast as anybody's thrown a disc to this day, also with golf weight. So 656 feet with a speed 6. With a high speed driver, that would have gone a lot further. I'm not sure how much further, but picture the fastest throw ever thrown with a golf disc in 2026, done with a high speed driver. That's how far I threw. Let's see. This is great. Scott Stokely, John says, how do I balance out promoting and marketing with playing disc golf as well as my personal life? Okay, this is very simple. Last year, I played 0 rounds of disc golf for fun, not one. I played a few tournaments. I didn't realize this, but all my golf tournaments were actually out of the country. So I played tournaments. I played rounds of golf practicing tournament courses, of course, because I got to get ready for the tournament. I would do field work and putt, but I didn't play a game of golf for fun last year. I was promoting Stokely discs. I was running my classes. And unfortunately, to compete at the highest level, there's not really you can't really strike a balance between promoting and competing. Like, there is not a way to promote, run events. I ran, 100 something events around the world last year. You can't do that and train and compete. So it was a trade-off. And the trade-off was I didn't get my tour card because, I've aged out of that. And so it was either travel around the country and just play tournaments or grow my business and hopefully try to secure a future for myself. And so the focus now is almost entirely on promotion of my discs, but also on the promoting of what will be the team of Stokely disc players. Dallas Garber is one of the main ones going on tour for the first time this year. I'm going to be out traveling. I'm going to be following him around, documenting his tour, and then promoting Stokely discs in the process. So yeah, there's not really a balance there. By the way, StokelyDiscs.com is where you can pick up these discs. If you like what I'm doing and want to support Stokely Discs, you know, go to StokelyDiscs.com after checking with your local retail store. You always got to support your local retailers first. It's very important to support the entrepreneurs in the sport. If they carry Stokely discs and the discs you want, buy from them. But if they don't carry my discs or they don't have access to my discs, then go to StokelyDiscs.com and you will not regret it. I make great discs. Now, as far as how I balance it with my personal life, at the moment, my personal life is me and Adriana. We're together like 24/7. I think we still get along, right?
So the answer is your partner should support your endeavors.
Yeah. I mean, she 100 support is supporting what I'm doing. So basically, the way I balance it with a personal life is simple. It's a top-down thing. We don't have this life we have traveling the world if my business is not successful. I cannot travel the world if my business is not successful. I can't feed me or her if business is not successful. So the personal life starts with, I need to succeed in my business life, and everything she does centers around supporting that. I get zero pushback on any decision I make as far as the business. I get zero pushback. All I get is like, I'm on your team. Whatever is best for a business you need to do, and she's on board because she knows that if she supports me being successful at business, then there's the effect of me providing the life for us that she now enjoys. But it goes in that order. There's just no way around it. I mean, I can't pursue a personal life independent of business because if business fails, I don't know what I would do with my life. So that's basically how I balance personal life. And then we find time. I will tell you one thing that's kind of fun is that, like, we love driving. It's just going to sound very strange, but we've been together for 6 years, 24 hours a day. We've listened to we listened to one audiobook in 6 years. We talk. If we have a 5-hour drive, we continue the conversation where it left off, and we talked for 5 hours, and we never get tired of just interacting with each other. So it is it doesn't feel like it, but to us, that is our personal life. That is our interaction, which is we're side by side in the car discussing how the world works. It's always very philosophical too. I think it's really fun. Probably would bore the heck out of a lot of people, but I think some of you would find it fun. Chelsea says, do I plan on making lightweight discs and more women and junior friendly discs? I love the Lark, but even that is a bit stable because of the weight and your arm speed. So the answer is 100% yes. The big picture is we are going to make everything. By the way, if you guys are posting questions, I will scroll back. I'm doing my Discord server questions first, scottstokely.net/Discord, and then I will go to all the questions that came up here. So I'm not ignoring you all, but I promise my Discord people first because that's my inner circle. So the answer is, the big picture is, I plan on making everything. I'm going to make discs to do every single thing in every type of plastic, with every single weight, with every single glow additive. I mean, everything. I will do everything. But there's a process, which is they have to come out, like discs can only come out so fast because you have to create hype around each individual model. And different plastic blends, every one of them involves a huge commitment of you can't buy like 100 pounds of plastic. You gotta basically buy a tractor trailer full of something to get a decent price, which means you need a market to support that new blend. So we have to simultaneously grow as we introduce new things. If we introduce new things too fast, we will outpace ourselves. And if we don't introduce new things fast enough, then people don't get excited about the new thing. That's kind of the balance you have to strike with the disc company. As far as light discs, 100% we're trying to make light discs. It's actually very hard to make light discs. And I won't go into all the specifics, but I'll give you just a basic overview. You have a disc that is the shape of the steel mold that the disc is in. You have liquid plastic, fills the mold into the shape of a frisbee. It's liquid because it's hot, it cools, it basically forms the shape of the mold, it spits it out, there's your frisbee. There is a certain amount of volume in every single mold, which means the density of the material you put in that mold will dictate the weight. If that mold was filled with styrofoam, you have a disc that weighs 4 grams. If that mold was filled with copper, you have a disc that weighs 600 pounds, like, or whatever it is, 80 pounds. But the density of the material is what is going to give it its weight for the most part. We have this amazing plastic, the type of plastic that you make golf discs out of. It's got to be durable, it's got to be flexible, but it's got to be grippable. Everybody's got their own blend, which is why I like the feel of this plastic, not that plastic. But you get the plastic blends that you want to create the discs, right? This is thermoplastic. This is stratoplastic. This is mesoplastic, right? It's a different blend of plastic. If I want to make, let's say I want to make this disc lighter. Well, this blend of plastic filling this mold is going to be a pretty general weight. I can't just make the disc weigh less. Like, I would have to change something within the materials to make that happen. And when I change things, I'm changing the disc. Like, I'm changing the way it feels, I'm changing the way it looks, but I'm having to make a change to do that. That is really hard to do. I think that the big manufacturers, I always praise the big manufacturers. They're my friends and they do a great job, but they've also been doing it a lot longer. But them making light discs is astonishing to me, that they're able to make light discs in good plastic. It's really impressive because it's very hard. But we're working on it. And you have my word, we're going to be continually adding these discs to the line. We're for sure. This is like we're going to do everything. I mean, the only way I could possibly take over the world and run all the big manufacturers out of business. And before you think that's cold of me, all of these big disc golf manufacturers, once they're out of business, they all have a job with Stokely discs. Like, I mean, I'm not going to put them out in the street. Like, all the people that are manufacturing from the big companies, they can all work for me, right? So I'm a good guy, but it's a very long process to do that, and so we're figuring out the details. But we will be doing everything. And then someone said it's not too late to get on Team Lone Star. Look, the Lone Star, those are great guys down at Lone Star Discs. I mean, I know they had some missteps. One of the nice things about when we started our company was we got to look at what a lot of these companies did well. I mean, Innova, Discraft, MVP, House of Discs, all of them did some things really well that were successful that we could copy. We also got to see, and I'm not throwing anybody under the bus, but we got to see what missteps these other companies took and mistakes they made, and we don't have to repeat those mistakes. And so a lot of the companies that have struggled because they've made mistakes, they're run by really cool guys. They're owned and run by friends of mine. That's why I'm not going to name anybody, throw anybody under the bus, because these are my friends, and I hope they turn it around and become successful because they're cool dudes. But we can also learn to not make those same mistakes. So there are things that we would have otherwise thought was a good idea, but with the benefit of hindsight, because someone else made the mistake first, we don't have to make those mistakes. So we pay attention. So yeah, Lone Star, great group of guys. I hope they make good discs, right? So I hope they're successful. Let's see. Now there's the big talk about weight. Let's see. Now it's all about, all right, there we go. I think that's all the questions that came in on Discord. Just managed a supple path, maybe some winter practice today. Yeah, you guys, if you guys go practice in the snow. What are you doing? You got to go practice in all conditions. Okay, here we go. Here's the question that just came in. Scott, do you think the PDGA would ever allow former players to become tournament directors without having a tour card? I just have an official card without the touring card. What do you think would be a fair payment for that? Let's see. Do you think the PDGA would ever allow former players to become tournament directors without having a touring card? Honestly, I don't know. I mean, as far as the rules of the PDJ, I don't want to misquote the PDJ. I know they have. Yeah, I'm going to pass on the question only because I don't know the answer to that, and I don't want to just give an answer because everybody's staring at me waiting for an answer. I don't want to give an answer for that reason. Okay, I got a whole bunch of questions that came in, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to go, holy cow, you guys are awesome. Let's see. Let's see here. Melanie says, can you make more videos, by the way, trying to decide on which disc to pick up? Okay, absolutely, Melanie. I just started making I made 2 videos, which I'm going to make more of. I did one for the Robin. What was it? The Robin? Which I did 2 without using slang terms. Well, no, it was for the Lark. I did one for the Lark and the Peregrine. I'm going to be making videos for every single disc. I have 7 original molds and 2 Ching discs, so 9 discs. It's a series I'm doing called "What is this disc good for? What does this disc do?" with no flight numbers and no jargon. And it's an idea I had to make a series of videos about like how the discs fly, but not using any terms that a new player wouldn't understand. Like I'm not talking about fade. I'm going to talk about how it'll bank to the left. I'm not talking about arm speed. That doesn't mean anything. I'm going to say if you throw your driver between 150 and 200 feet. And I'm not going to use flight numbers. And I want to have a series of videos describing these discs for players who actually don't speak the language. That's really important that we communicate to that audience as well. And so I don't think everybody's done the best job of that. And so I'm going to be making those videos. So yes, I'll have videos for all of these discs for sure. And so Belly, by the way, I would also say, let's see, I'm going to be, this is going to look very funny on camera because I got it. The text of the questions that came in are so small, I have to lean in to see them. Well, but Melanie, I would say the best discs for a player, if you're new, grab a Lark. That's going to be a straight flying driver for you. I would say you can grab a Robin, which if you're new is going to be overstable, meaning when you throw it right-handed backhand at low speeds, it is going to turn left for you. Or if you throw right-handed sidearm, it'll turn right for you. But that way you have 2 drivers. You have a Lark that flies straight. You have a Robin that'll be a little overstable at those speeds. Then I would throw the for your approach disc, absolutely throw the Juju. It's from Ching discs. I'm going to explain the Juju if you're new. There are 5 differently spaced or different distance from the rim thumb grooves to place your thumb in. You get to decide. There's no right or wrong answer. You figure out where your thumb best fits, and then you can put your thumb there every single time. Now, for symmetry, there's 9 total. There's 1 here, and then there's the 4 on each side, which means if you're right-handed or left-handed, you can pick your side. These grooves do not affect the flight at all, okay? Has 0 effect, but they're not just a gimmick. They're a great tool for getting your thumb in the right spot. But more important than that, the Juju is the straightest flying approach disc on the market, hands down, period. This disc, at the end of its flight, will fade, which means it'll bank less at the end of its flight than any other approach disc out there. This is not a gimmick disc. When I was at the World Championships the last 2 years, this is the disc I was throwing all of my backhand and hyzer approaches with. Was with the Juju. So I didn't throw it, like there's no camera crews following me around as I'm marketing my discs. I bagged this disc because it was the best disc out there. And I don't make discs for everything. So just so you know, I had destroyers in my bag. I had a Force. So I'm not even throwing exclusively my own discs because I don't have a full line. So I could throw any disc I want to at the World Championships, and I'm bagging the Juju for my approaches. And then for your putter, you have two choices. You have the Wren and the Finch. By the way, you can get all these discs at StokelyDiscs.com, but I would contact your local retail store first, but you can order them at StokelyDiscs.com. These are the same disc, basically. The difference is one has a bead, one doesn't. Here's what that means. At the bottom of this disc, the bottom edge of the disc basically just forms like a straight line, right? Now on this one, you can see the bottom of the disc, I'm trying to hold it up to the camera, has a little bead. It just makes the disc a little bit deeper. It makes it a little bit more stable. Like the the Wren flies dead straight. When you throw the Finch, it flies dead straight. But if you're right-handed backhand, it'll turn left just that slightest bit more. Very similar, but there's a slight difference. The biggest difference between a putter with no bead and a putter with a bead is personal choice. Everybody's got a different shaped hand. Everybody's got different length fingers. Everybody grips their disc differently. When you putt with these two discs, it is likely that one of them will come out of your hand a little better than the other. Most people prefer a certain type of putter over the other. There is no formula. There is no, if your hand's smaller, you use this disc, or if you grip it that way, beaded versus non-beaded. Like there's so much variance between hand shapes. You simply have to try them both and pick the one that works for you. So I'm not trying to sell you two putters instead of one just to sell Frisbees, but you do want to try out both if possible. It's also very possible that you wind up putting with one and throwing approaches with the other. A lot of people do that as well. So it's not like you're going to be wasting your money having both discs, but you try and both find the putter you like. All right.
Tell them about how you ended up switching to a non-bead.
Oh yeah, I'll tell you guys a story about this. Okay, so here, that's why I keep you around. I'm going to renew your contract for one more week, Adriana. That was really smart.
Yeah.
I keep Adriana on like a weekly, well, it's more like a daily contract, but I grant multi-day exemptions. Yeah, so I'm going to grant you another week. So now I think you're going to be with me for like 11 more days now. Yeah. You were down to 4 days. But okay, so how did I choose the beadless putter versus the beaded putter? Kind of a funny story. So when I was on the 2022 tour, I had been putting the Berg, okay, when I went out on the Disc Golf Pro Tour in 2022. And the reason I was putting the Berg was because I was really good at putting the Berg. Like I was out there the year before, I was out putting everybody in my division. Then I get out on the Disc Golf Pro Tour, and all of a sudden I'm like the worst putter on tour. Now I'm 52 years old. Like, okay, I'm not a top player, but I realized I needed to make a change from the Berg. Once I actually compared myself to the best in the world, I wasn't stacking up. The only thing I knew for sure was that I would be putting with a beaded putter, right? Because I know that the beaded putters feel better in my hand. But for the purpose of science, I grabbed 9 different putters, a few of them beaded, a few of them with partial beads, and a few of them with a full bead. I had 9 putters, and I spent 2 weeks, and I did a total of 20,000. I did 20,000 putts over the course of 2 weeks, total between the 9 putters. And Adriana sat on the tailgate of a pickup truck and counted makes and misses with all 20,000. That's why I keep her around. All 20,000 putts. I wanted to know which putters went in more. I needed a sample size of like 2,000 putts each before I would trust the data. And I never liked the way the beadless putters felt in my hand. It just never felt like it came out right. But the data showed that they went in more. I mean, and again, several thousand putts per model. That's conclusive. So I switched to a beadless putter. To this day, I feel like a beaded putter feels better in my hand, but I make more putts with the beadless putter, which is now the Ren. It was the Marvel, but it's very similar to the Ren. And I'm going to give you guys one more story about putters, about the Ren. Okay, it's not just the best putter because Dallas Garber puts it, even though he's pretty damn good. But at the 2024 PDGA World Putting Championships in the Open Division, I finished second place. I beat Eagle McMahon. I beat Isaac Robinson, who won the World Championships that year. I beat Gannon Burr. Like, I beat all those guys, and I did it with the Ren from Stokely Discs. So the old man, actually, for my age, pretty good. The Ren was the putter that was one putt away from winning the World Open title at 54 years old. So, yeah, I swear by the Ren. Which you can get at StokelyDiscs.com after talking to your local retail store. All right. Hey, Scott and Adriana. Oh, hello. By the way, I'm getting a lot of hellos. I'm seeing everybody's hello in here. So hello, general hello to everybody. All right. Jason says, am I still going to make it to Tupelo? Am I still going to make it to Tupelo to run the event? Oh, my God. I would never miss Tupelo, Mississippi. Dude, Tupelo, Mississippi is one of the most important cultural cities in all of America. Like Tupelo, without Tupelo, we would not have one of the single most important things of Americana in the 20th century. Now, I know you're thinking that's because that's where Elvis Presley was born, but no, Elvis Presley being born in Tupelo is not the most important thing about Tupelo. Tupelo, Mississippi is the birth of hardcore wrestling. If you didn't know this, Tupelo is cited as the origin of hardcore wrestling. So traditionally, pro wrestling was done inside the ring. Now, matches got bloody. By the way, it's real blood. They get busted. Look at their foreheads. Like when they get older, they're real blood. There were some violent pro wrestling matches back in the day, but being presented as a sport, it took place inside the ring. When you left the ring, you got counted out. Well, there was a match in Tupelo, Mississippi, that was on television that spilled out of the ring. 4 men, a couple tag teams, and they kept fighting it. Next thing you know, they wound up in the Tupelo, whatever the arena was called, concession stand. And this became known as the Tupelo concession stand match. And these 4 guys on live television beat the crap out of each other inside the concession stand. And they beat each other up with everything from frying pans to tables to cotton candy machines. My understanding is the only thing the person that ran the concession stand said, she said, please don't destroy our popcorn machine. It costs like $3,000. So the only thing that was spared in the concession stand was the popcorn machine. That was the birth of hardcore wrestling. So you think I'm not going to go to Tupelo? My God. Tupelo is one of the most important cities. It's like Washington, D.C. It's like, that's how important Tupelo is. Good afternoon, Mug Master. That has double meaning now. Are they going to let you play with Dallas at Preserve Doubles? I would love to play with Dallas at Preserve Doubles, but I also know Dallas is going to have the opportunity to win that tournament. So I would probably, as much as I would love to play with them at Preserve Doubles, maybe I'll find someone else to enter with. But I don't want Dallas to play with me because I want him to have his best chance to win. And that's not going to be with me, unfortunately. Oh, my God, look at all the comments coming. Hold on. Let's see. Oh, my gosh. Hold on. I'm losing it again. Hey there, youngster. Hold on a minute. Scrolling. Glenn says, any chance I would do a full-day seminar in northern Minnesota up in Duluth? I would love to do. I'll definitely be in Minnesota again this year for sure. I'm spending a whole bunch of time in Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, Iowa, Illinois, and Ohio area. I'm doing a 3 months out in that part of the country, which means I'll pretty much be everywhere. So I'll definitely be doing something up there. I love Minnesota. I love Duluth. Hey, Scott, I think he's in Arkansas. I am in Arkansas. It is covered in snow. I love Tom Monroe. Tom was the best. Let's see. Hey, brothers. Let's see. Jim Bob says, hey, brother Stoke, me and the wife are tuning in. Hello, Jim Bob and wife. Thank you for tuning in. Let's see. I always did memorial for Tom in Huntsville. Yeah, Tom was the best. Tom Monroe. Aim with your follow through. Let's see. Okay, here we go. I got a couple more questions that came in. Blade says, you may have a YouTube video on this question, but what is the primary difference between turning the key and pouring the coffee to help with the nose down? Is there a better method, or is it just dependent on your own body mechanics? What are the pros and cons of each method? So yeah, there is a difference between those two. So the pouring the coffee is basically taking your hand and tilting it down like this, right? You're taking your hand and you are tilting it like you're pouring the coffee. And people teach that as a way to throw with nose down. The reality is, if some people do that, it will keep the nose from going up. But a lot of that is correlation, not causation. A lot of the techniques out there that are taught, if you show that technique to 10 different people, it doesn't mean it's not going to be helpful for some of them. But it doesn't necessarily mean it was the right way to learn how to do something. So anybody who's gotten positive results by pouring the coffee, I'm not dismissing the fact that you got positive results or saying that you're wrong. I'm saying there was a better way to do it. So the pouring the coffee is the turning the hand down. Okay, I do not agree that's what you should do. I'll explain. By the way, if this tip helps you keep the nose down, you can show your appreciation by trying Stokely Discs at StokelyDiscs.com. I got to do a better job pitching my products when I do these things. Okay. Where you place your hand as far as tilting it, you should place your hand in a position where it naturally rests and naturally wants to move. Because you can tilt your hand up or you can pour the coffee, but in either of those positions, when you move your hand, you're going to feel it like grinding in here and impinging and pulling. Like, you're taking your hand out of calibration from the forearm and you're causing this joint to move in a way that's not fluid. It's not efficient, right? Even though this can help for different reasons. Instead, you want to have your hand in its natural resting position. That's where your hand's going to be. So that's what the pour the coffee is doing this. The nose going up on the disc is not caused by this. It is caused by the swiveling of the forearm. Meaning, if my forearm swivels this direction, in other words, if I was turned this way, throwing that way, I know I am on a small screen. If I swivel my forearm, it turns the palm down, it turns the palm up. That's what is causing your nose to go up and down. That is the number one cause. Look at this. If this disc is flying this direction, and I swivel my forearm, which turns the palm down, look at the nose of the disc right up here. Watch this. I swivel to turn the palm down. Now the disc is flying with the nose up. So to not put the nose up on the disc means don't swivel the forearm. And yes, there are videos about this. So go look at my tutorial videos. You'll find more details where I demonstrate. If you don't swivel the forearm, and instead the elbow and the wrist, this hinge and this hinge, are both moving parallel to the ground, and they remain parallel to the ground because the forearm did not swivel, then it is impossible to put the nose up on the disc. And in all of the things that people say, swooping, dipping, starting your backswing too high, all the things people say will put the nose up on the disc, all of them are true. They will all put the nose up on the disc. But the reason why is that in some form, they all cause the forearm to swivel. If the forearm doesn't swivel, the nose doesn't go up. Now, as far as turning the key, I actually like the turning the key as a teaching technique, not as a throwing technique, but as a learning technique. So turning the key means breaking the rule, which I just said don't swivel. Turning the key involves swiveling, meaning you're turning the palm up because it's like you're turning the key, right? You're turning the palm up. Now, no, you do not want to swivel and turn the palm up. You want to keep this hinge moving parallel to the ground. Okay, so swivel bad, hinge parallel to the ground is good. Except here's the thing. Because the cause of the nose going up is the swiveling of the opposite direction, the palm swiveling down, and then putting the nose up. And the correct way to throw is to not swivel at all. Well, a teaching technique to learn to not turn the palm down is to overcorrect and put the palm up, which is turning the key. So as a teaching technique to train yourself to not go palm down, yes, turning the palm up is a great way to learn to do that. Because even though you're turning the key and turning the palm up, when you throw the disc, your palm won't stay in that position. You're trying to turn the palm up. You're trying to turn the key, but for the most part, it won't happen, and you'll wind up with a parallel hinge that doesn't swivel. So I like to turn the key technique as a teaching technique because it results in this hinge right here moving, and this hinge right here, both of them moving parallel to the ground. But it's not because you want to throw that way. It's just a great way to learn to correct the palm turning down. If you throw and that palm turns down, the nose is going up, period. If you, at no point did that palm turn down, the nose isn't. So everything else you've ever heard about, all the things that cause the nose to go up, all come down to the idea of this hinge moving parallel to the ground and following through parallel to the ground. So kind of hard to show just sitting here, but that's what's causing the nose to go up and nose to go down. All right. Was there an exact moment when you knew disc golf was more than a hobby? Yeah, I got a great that's from Tossing Plastic. I got a great story about when I realized, and I have no choice, but by the way, I'm going to apologize in advance. Cover the kids' ears because I have to swear during part of this story because to tell the story accurately. So I knew that disc golf was becoming a sport, but there was no money in disc golf back in the early 90s. 7, depending on how you look at it, either 6 or 7 players had toured before me. They'd gone out for a year or two and kind of got by on the road, winning tournaments and, but it was a struggle. It certainly didn't feel like this was going to be a future, at least not in the short term. So I had just done, I was finishing up my 3rd semester of college. And the reason I was going to college is because everyone said you have to go to college. Like, you got to get to college, you got to go to college, you got to meet a girl, you got to get out of college, get a job, get married, start your career, work your way up through middle management, buy a house, work 51 weeks a year for the next 35 years, and then, buy an RV when you're 60 and go to Florida. Like that. Like, that's what you're supposed to do, right? Make sure you got a 401k, make sure you're with a big company that you can stay with 40 years. And I bought into that because I was young and that's what everybody said you had to do. But I wanted to go tour for one summer. Let me just try playing disc golf for a living for one summer because by golly, it's going to be a fun 12 weeks. I did. I booked a summer for like 11 tournaments in 12 weeks or something. Like, that was my tour. So I get a bunch of merchandise. So I brought the girl I was dating at the time. I don't know. We just got married, actually. I don't remember, but we got a little RV. We traveled around for 3 months, and I played disc golf tournaments, and I set up at tournaments, and I sold merchandise at these events. And at the end of 3 months, my only thought was, I'm fucked. I am completely and totally fucked. How could I possibly go back to college and then pursue a career and go get a 9-to-5 job when I just played Frisbee golf for a living for 3 months? Like, I don't think we ever ate. I mean, we ate bread and bologna. Like, we had no money. We had, it's not, maybe a bit of it. We had enough money for maybe fast food or something, but like, and we couldn't even, and we'd have to get jobs over the winter, right? But the fact that I was playing disc golf for a living, I was like, I'm screwed. I can never go back to college. I'm never going back to college. I have to figure out how to do disc golf for a living. I just have to, because God, it's almost like, it's, forgive the analogy, but it's almost like when someone says, "Don't ever try cocaine." Why? Because it sucks? No, because it doesn't. Right? Don't try cocaine, because if you do it and you like it, you're either going to do it or you're going to realize that there's things out there that you could be doing. Like, that's kind of how it was. I played frisbee golf for a living, and I was like, I'm screwed. Now I have to play frisbee the rest of my life. I've had a very great life because of it, incredible life, but there's no way I had any way of knowing that in 1993 that it was going to turn out like this. Like, but I knew that I couldn't ever hold a regular job. So yeah, that was the moment.
Hey, by the way, did you see that picture that got posted?
Which one?
It's from your wedding at Daylight.
Somebody posted a picture of my wedding. Oh,
you're standing around in this suit, so that's what everybody's saying.
It's probably got to be my wedding. Yeah, that's right. Because I did get married before I went on tour. Because I got married, the Masters Cup in De La Vega and Santa Cruz. I got married between rounds of the Masters Cup on the tee pad of Top of the World. Because of course I got married at a frisbee golf tournament in 1992. Like, who doesn't get married between rounds of a major disc golf tournament? That's crazy. Like, what are you going to do? Get married in a church or a park or at a country club? No, you get married at a frisbee golf tournament like a real American. John David Puntini says, "Who's the best at getting throws in the circle?" I don't know. The stats are very good, though. I can tell you that it's not me. Throwing discs inside the circle is not where I was at the top of the stats list. By the way, they call it greens in regulation. I don't know who it was. My guess is it's probably Gannon, followed by, I'd be willing to bet that Nicolas is up there. Anthony Burrell is going to be up there. Obviously, Ricky's up there. Calvin's up there. Like, the best players are the ones who are the best at throwing in the circle. The correlation is pretty strong there. There's other areas where there's not as much of a correlation between success on the Pro Tour and the stats, but circle, like greens in regulation, is the strongest correlation to success. Let's see. Oops. Let's see. Looking, I'm back. Everybody's saying hi, hello again. Christy says, "Are there any discs you have that are similar to the captain's Thresher?" I don't know. I don't know how that flies. I would love to say yes so I could sell it to you, but I don't know. So if you tell me how they fly, I could answer. Or if you message the website, because that'll go directly to the warehouse, they could tell you, because they're all experts there. I mean, I'm an expert at my discs, but there are people that know more about other companies' discs than me. Ren and Al are awesome discs, and Strato's the best putter plastic you can spend money on. Thank you so much. Yeah, the Strato plastic, people rave about my putter plastic. I don't get any credit for the quality of the plastic, other than I felt a bunch of different discs and I'm like, yes, that one. Like, that plastic's phenomenal. But as far as actually putting the blends together, that was not, I take no credit for that. Let's see. With a logic to Chandler, would someone who throws a backhand such as Conrad get a similar edge in ranking? Well, they would have to be when you're just talking about your ability to throw backhands. Absolutely. They would get that same type of edge. I don't know how much of an edge it is. That's why we have these discussions about the best, the goats, the stuff like that. But I would give that for sure. Let's put it this way. If James Conrad had a good sidearm, or Chandler Kramer had a good backhand, both of them are better. I mean, James Conrad's literally a world champion, and with a good sidearm, he's better. There are holes out there that every sidearm on tour can't. Everybody that has a good sidearm can throw better than anybody in the world can throw a backhand. It's just it has to do with the physics of the flight of the disc. It's all math. Like right now today, a there is not a player alive who can throw a backhand Anheuser as accurately as I can throw a sidearm Heiser. It has everything to do with how much variance in landing areas you're going to get when you miss your angle. Heisers, or discs that head the same direction where a disc fades, is going to have a smaller variance of landing areas. So it has nothing to do with, oh, my sidearm's so good. No, it has to do with, it's just physics. You know, I'm sorry, in my opinion, I'm really, really good at throwing sidearm Anheisers, like incredibly good at throwing sidearm Anheisers. Every single player on the Pro Tour throws a backhand Heiser more accurately than my sidearm Anheuser. Period. It's just math. Let's see. Okay, Les says, okay, I saw this post this morning about a big manufacturer asking $60 for a disc. As a manufacturer, player, and professional, what are your thoughts? I'm not happy, but my thoughts are not all negative because I get it. What are yours? I don't know. So I don't know the details about selling a disc for $60. But here's the thing, Les. I'm going to talk just general philosophy. I believe in the free market. I believe in capitalism. I believe in the free market. And if people are willing to pay a certain price for a product, then that product is worth that price. I mean, you could objectively say, well, it's not worth it because it doesn't fly better. It doesn't matter. Like, the value of something is based on what we all agree we're willing to trade money for, which means we're willing to agree how many hours we're willing to work to earn the money to trade for, sacrificing the things we don't buy that we don't have because we bought that thing. If it's not worth $60, no one's going to pay it. Like, I know that Ricky, the Dynamic tried to make the Orbit. I'll give a perfect example. The Orbit Felon from the Ricky Wysocki Orbit Felon from Dynamic Discs. I bagged that disc. I think that disc is utterly phenomenal. Like that is like in like 2023, like I was crushing that disc. They were retailing for like $38. The market did not agree with me. And by the way, I never once paid for one. They would give them to me, right? So I thought the discs themselves were great, but the market did not think they were worth $38, and people were pissed and they didn't buy the discs, and Dynamic had to pivot. They didn't keep selling them for $38 anymore because nobody bought them. So yeah, I think if they're selling discs for $60, if people are willing to pay it, then good for the manufacturer. Sounds like a lot to me though. Amberstead, when starting up with disc golf and trying to learn discs and flights, let's say I purchase a disc, who do you recommend to do to learn the disc and its flights? Open field or using targets? Hopefully this makes sense. Yeah, so learning how a disc flies is you just have to throw it. I mean, and there's probably some merit to throwing it on the open field, but you'll learn it just playing on the course with it as well. The disc flights are going to vary based on you. You know, like flight numbers are just a generalization. They're a starting point because discs fly differently at different speeds. They fly differently with different amounts of spin. They fly differently based on nose angle. They fly differently based on how much wobble they have. And there are discs whose flight characteristics change depending on the angle of release. There are discs that when you throw it at 45 degrees will keep that 45-degree angle, but when you throw it flat, it'll go from flat to 10-degree Anheuser. I don't even understand the physics behind that. I just know that it happens. So how discs fly for you is going to be your flight characteristics and yours alone, and you have to learn the discs. Now, flight numbers are a great starting place. It's a great place to get an idea. Like if a disc is a -3 turn, it's going to turn more than a 0. Like you can pretty much count on that. It doesn't mean a -3 turns the same for you as for me, but they're both going to turn more than a 0. Again, it's kind of a starting place. What I recommend you do is that's what pro shops are for. Go talk to a pro shop, go talk to an expert. We were just at the Disc Golf Dojo, for example, in Arkansas. They have a try before you buy policy. All the discs they sell, they have trial discs, and they have a big ball golf course on the property. You get to go out there and throw the discs. You don't get to do that online. So trying before you buy is a great thing. I hope more pro shops, the ones that are able to. It's hard if you're not on a course, I suppose, or it's even hard on a wooded course where people are hitting trees. But in the right situation, that's great. But I think if you go to talk to a pro shop, they're going to ask you questions. How far do you throw? Like they're gonna gauge, and you're far more likely to get the right disc if you talk to a local professional than just buying at random. He says, Les says I do great content for my age. Thanks, Les. Play lefty. Let's see. Good morning. Keep up the good work. You're the best. You're so sweet. Let's see. I'm scrolling down to see if there's any more questions. Okay, so Ryan asked about hyzer flips. What is the secret to hyzer flips? So the secret that so first off, what a hyzer flip is if I take a disc, I'm gonna use this one as an example right here. Okay, let me fix the camera. All right. Yeah, I did make. Well, I mentioned it in the video, and I have a hyzer flip video. You can definitely go search for Scustovely hyzer flips. But I mentioned hyzer flips in the one video about the Lark. But if I have a disc like the Lark, and I throw this disc backhand at a certain speed, it's going to turn to the right. So all a hyzer flip is that I throw a disc that would turn to the right, but I throw it at a hyzer angle, which means the far end of the disc is lower than the end closer to me, and that disc leaves my hand, and when it flies, it turns to the right, relative to the angle it's at, which means turning to the right doesn't necessarily make it go right. It could go from extreme left to straight, or it can go for extreme left to not as extreme left. But that's a different flight trajectory than throwing a disc that flies straight and just turns left. For example, if I put a left turn angle on it, it's going to turn left early in its flight. And then as it turns up flat, it's going to go forward instead of continuing left. There's holes that require you to do that. So the trick to hyzer flip, well, first off, what a hyzer flip is just throwing a hyzer angle with a disc that has a turn -2, -3, -4, maybe even a -1 if you throw fast, but a disc that's understable. Now, the trick to throwing that, the second part then is how do you adjust the angle? And the way you adjust the angle is with your waist. When you throw a backhand, these are all general rules, right? There's always exceptions. When you throw a backhand, you pull the disc across your body where you have the most strength. You can call it the power pockets, the kind of the slang term, but pull where you have the most strength. And then to change the angle, you don't lower your arm, but you keep the disc relative to your body the same, lean over at the waist. That's how you adjust the angle of the disc. The hinge is your waist, not the shoulder. Same thing with the sidearm hyzer. You don't lower your arm to put a hyzer angle on the sidearm. You keep your arm in the same arm slot relative to your body and lean over at the waist. That's how you adjust the angle on the disc. Now, in both of those cases, your waist will only go so far. So to get the additional angle, if you want a more extreme angle, then you use the shoulder to add the extra. But it's waist first, followed by shoulder. And you guys, I'm going to take a 30-second break. I'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Well, I see how many people in the room. I'm curious how many people will be here in 30 seconds, but I'll be right back.
You need Jeopardy music.
Let's see how many people are in the room to go. Let's see. Let's see. All right. How many of you left? Because I just went to powder my nose. Actually, that has different meanings. So I don't want to start any rumors. I went to pee. Hey guys, by the way, I should have mentioned as far as the hyzer flip, I talked about the Lark. There is no better fairway driver for hyzer flips than the Lark because it's understable, but it has a consistent turn, which means you can trust how quickly it's going to go from angle up to flat, and you can get the Lark at StokelyDiscs.com. Always check with your local retail store first. Support your local entrepreneur. But actually, you know what? I'm going to take a second before I get to the next question. I want to give you a pitch about like, well, why try Stokely Discs? Because the challenge that as a small disc manufacturer that I'm facing, and I've said this before, but the biggest problem that I have with these major manufacturers, we're talking about Innova, Discraft, MVP, and House of Discs. I mean, they dominate this industry. And the single biggest problem I have with these manufacturers is that they're all making really good golf discs. Like these, by the way, first off, these are all being run by my friends who I love and respect. I would never say a bad word about my friends, but I can also honestly say these big companies make good discs. They make great discs. They have great plastic. They've got, they're price competitive. The artwork is really good. They do a lot to promote the game, right? They're not just stuffing money in their mattresses. All these companies push money back into the sport and help our sport. So I have nothing but respect for these big manufacturers, would never say a bad word about them. But here's the thing. I make good discs too. A lot of the small companies make really good discs. And my plastic is just as good as theirs. My discs fly just as good as theirs. I think this artwork is brilliant. It's fantastic. I'm even doing like the multicolored, the contrast discs. We have Larks in Rens, this is not dyed. This is like it's called contrast. This is two different plastic colors coming out of the same machine. So the way I look at this is simple. I make good discs. Well, I guess so do they. My prices are competitive with theirs. You get to choose to where you spend your money, which companies you want to support. Now, here's the thing. This is my observation about well, I'm going to talk mostly about America. Like Applebee's makes good food. Chili's makes good food. Their prices are good. But the mom and pop restaurant next door that's trying to like succeed, they make good food too, you guys. Like they absolutely make good food. Their prices are usually just as competitive. So the question is do you want to go spend your money at Applebee's or you want to go to the mom and pop's restaurant? Now, if you're driving down the street and there's a mom and pop restaurant next to Chili's, go look at the parking lots. For whatever reason, most people, even though they both have good food, would rather spend their money at Chili's and give the money to the big giant corporation than the little guy. It's America. It's a free market. I defend your right to spend your money anywhere you want to, and I am not saying a single negative thing about Chili's. But the fact is I personally go to the mom and pop's restaurant, go try to find me and Adriana giving our money to a big giant corporation when there's these small businesses that are trying to make it. Like literally, like you go to the mom and pop's restaurant, like that's the owners are like waiting your table and cooking your food. That's so much cooler to me. And so I want you guys to give us a try. Our food is just as good as Applebee's. Our prices are just as good as Applebee's, but you're getting on this team of people who are supporting small businesses. And by the way, it doesn't have to be me. Look at all the small manufacturers. Go support. I mean, I don't care. Maybe it's not me. Give the small manufacturers a try. Everyone's making good discs these days, just as good as the big guys. So you choose where to spend your money anywhere you want to, but I would encourage you to support Main Street USA when given the chance, because these great companies, they're doing such a good job. They're successful, but there's room for more than just the four of them. And but the market has to decide that. If you guys, the market, decide you only want four big manufacturers, well, it's your choice. You guys get to decide that. But I don't think that's the best thing for disc golf. All right. Let me see here. More questions coming in. Let's see. Are you forehand struggle, hyzer flips? Let's see. Basically the same thrower as the plate. Let's see. La Mirada Rock and Cyclone are my favorite disc winners. But yeah, La Mirada, I mean, that, of course, look, Discraft and Introvert are they're like the biggest, most influential people in the history of the sport. They've done so much. When in my career did I start looking at the parting line? Are you talking about on the discs? I don't think I do. David, I'm curious about your question. So if you can be more specific on your question, that would be great. Oh, I should have mentioned on my last little pitch, StokelyDiscs.com. That's where you can try out my discs after you check with your local retail store. Who coined the phrase, David says, who coined the phrase nose down? When did people start to throw that way? Like, what was the first disc to handle the torque? Okay, so there's a myth about the term nose down. You basically, look, there's nuances of nose angle, okay? You can ignore most of these nuances. It's not about nose down. It's about the disc flat, the direction it's flying. Look at this. All you got to do is point this at the camera. This is going to fly better than this or this if it was heading towards the camera. Look at all the wind resistance here. Look at all the wind resistance there. Look at the lack of wind resistance there, which means not only does it fly farther, but it will have less fade. It will lose spin at a slower rate. It's not about nose down. Here's where I think people misunderstand. Suppose I'm throwing the disc this direction. Throwing the disc this direction, let's suppose I am incorrectly thrown with the nose up, right? So in other words, when the disc is flying away from you, you can see the top of the disc because the nose is up. Everybody knows that's not how you want to throw. Well, you might intentionally put the nose up for certain shots, but as your baseline throw, you don't want to throw with the nose up. So what do? What do people tell you? You got to get the nose down. What they're saying is the nose is up. You need to get it down, meaning it went from nose up to flat. If you were throwing nose up and you now throw flat, you got the nose down. Cool. Getting the nose down is why I'm throwing farther. And then someone hears that and they go, oh, so you want to throw nose down? No, you don't. The only time you would ever intentionally put the nose down is if you're trying to throw for distance and you're throwing super high and the disc is riding with the nose up and you're trying to get the nose down. But even then, the nose isn't down. If it's going up, the nose is actually still going to be going up. It's not flying with the nose down, rising in elevation. So it's almost, I don't want to say it's a myth, but it's a misunderstanding. When people say nose down, what they're saying is, don't put the nose up. It's nose down relative to the incorrect nose up. Turn it down. It's actually supposed to be flat. I think I said the same thing 4 different times. I'm sorry if I repeated myself there, but it's a bit of a misunderstanding. If you're throwing the disc flat, you're gold. And then if you have the ability to put the nose up on certain approach shots or to put the nose down on certain high downwind distance throws, that's a bonus. But if all you ever do is get the nose flat, you're 98.5% of the way there. Let's see. Beth says, sorry for the question. I understand. I cannot play anymore because of injury, but I have volunteered to help in the past and still do, but they will only allow players with touring cards to be tournament directors or even non-playing officials. I think it's wrong. I just wish they allow non-playing people to be officials and tournament directors. PDJ number 4110. So I consider myself to be a former player. Yeah, I don't know the details on that. I would say that. So that's their rules, Beth. Have you ever written them and asked them about that? Because from what you're telling me, Beth, and I'm not trying to look, there's probably a bigger picture here I'm not aware of, but based on what you're saying, I'm on your side. I think that makes sense. Being able to run tournaments, especially as a former player who had a PDJ membership since the the mid 80s, it doesn't seem like that should be a problem. So, but again, If they write back and say, well, the reason why is A, B, and C, maybe they have their reasons that I'm just not aware of. Jonathan says, I mentioned you in my latest YouTube video. I'll have to, Jonathan, send me a message on social media and I'll share that video. Someone said the word keeper. I think they were talking about you, Drana.
What?
Someone said the word keeper, and I'm thinking they're talking about you. I told you I'm going to keep her for 11 more days. Adriano's down to a 4-day contract, and but she just came up with a really good idea for something I was talking about, so I actually extended her contract by 7 days. So she has 11 days to. You got 11 days to prove yourself again before your contract expires. Fair?
I think I get extended more when you do this. Maybe you should do this more often.
I should do this more often. Hey guys, yeah, I should probably do this more often. Hey, Andre says, hello from Norway. I have a question I've been thinking about and would really value your perspective. Do you have any relation? Okay, this is going to be good, I think. Do you have any theory about the relationship between body type, for example, the common categories like mesomorph, ectomorph, endomorph, and a player's potential to throw in disc golf? We are all taught the same basic technique, but very little is said about whether the same technique is equally optimal for every body type. It makes me wonder if differences in build. Yeah, okay, so I do have, okay, Andre, it's a great question about different body types. And I'm going to give you a long answer. And so I hope I don't bore you guys, but I'm going to explain my entire teaching philosophy because it basically harkens to what you're saying. So this is what's so funny about the way I teach disc golf, because I've had people who misunderstand and think that I'm teaching like the basics. Oh, he teaches the fundamentals because I teach to a lot of beginner players and a lot of groups of players. Where the reality is I am teaching the highest level of disc golf in the world because, well, you guys can tell me, give me a few minutes to explain my teaching philosophy and then tell me if this isn't like the highest level there is. And then it applies to everybody from the best pros in the world all the way down. So basically, there are two ways people learn how to disc golf. Okay, the first way is everybody's heard some version of just figure out what works best for you and do that. Okay, that was terrible advice. Okay, you can't just throw any way you want to. Physics trumps your style. Okay, anytime you have your style and it conflicts with what the physics says, physics wins, period. Okay, there's a mechanically correct way to throw, meaning there are rules you must follow because those follow the laws of physics. Okay, physics wins. Having said that, there's a second way players learn to disc golf that almost everybody's done some version of, which is to try to copy another player. Maybe part of their throw, maybe a certain technique that they use. Maybe you've watched their throw in slow motion and tried to do what they do. And if you've done that, you probably noticed that it didn't work. Or at the very least, it didn't work as well as you hoped. Okay, that's not your fault. It is impossible to copy another player's timing and mechanics. Not because they're better than you, but because they are throwing with a different body than you are throwing with. Okay? Every single person watching this feed right now, we're a different size, we're a different shape, we have a different amount of muscle mass in different areas. Our joints do not align at identical angles from each other. Even if they did, at some point we would have a different range of motion within these joints based on how we lived our life from the time we were born up until today. We have a different amount of flexibility from person to person, and then we have things like past injuries that some of us deal with and some of us don't. You cannot copy another player's mechanics and timing because you are throwing with a different machine than the person you're trying to copy. Okay, it's never going to work to do that. But you also can't throw any way you want to. Physics trumps everything. So here's what I've done. This is the Stokely disc golf method I keep using. The reason I gave it its own term wasn't ego. It actually is a very specific method and process I teach. So here's what it comes down to. The laws of physics must be followed, meaning there are certain rules that must happen. You must follow these rules. You must plant your foot before you start pulling the disc. That's physics. If you don't do that, you lose power. Okay, period. If you keep your head forward when you reach back, you cannot reach all the way back, meaning that when you go to throw, you're starting your swing from the middle of your body instead of all the way back. It would be like a golfer drawing the club halfway back and stopping. Okay, physics. Your head must allow the reach back to happen. So there's rules of physics that must be followed. The Stokely disc golf method teaches exactly what those rules are. Those are written in stone. You must follow those rules, period. End of discussion, no argument. But there's not that many rules. Once you follow these small number of rules, meaning you get the physics right, every other part of the throw, other than those rules, is going to happen differently from person to person based on how your individual body moves. Okay? So, physics trumps everything. But after the rules are followed, everything else must be individual to the person's body. Knowing the difference between those two things is key, because when you watch Gannon Burr throw and you look at two different things he does, and you go, I'm going to copy those two different things because he's Gannon Burr. Well, wait a second here. One of those things might be physics. Yeah, you better damn sure do that one thing he did. But the second thing you're trying to copy is based on the shape of Gannon's body and where Gannon's joints are aligning. And if you copy that thing, you're going to get it wrong because your body doesn't move like his, even though you had to follow rule number 1 to a T. That's what it all comes down to, knowing the difference between those two things. So, and now this is way too much for this video. So in answer to your question, yes, disc golf must be taught differently. Every individual body has things that it does that is individual to that person. But everybody, all the different body types still have to follow the same laws of physics because physics trumps everything. It's the knowing the difference between those two, knowing what things to focus on and then what things to allow to happen based on your individual body is why when people work with me, go look at anybody that comes to one of my fairway field trips. People trip out. Like I do a clinic at these fairway field trips, and then all of a sudden I work with you for like 90 seconds, and it's like, oh my God, in 90 seconds, I'm throwing better. Yes, you know why you're throwing better in 90 seconds? Because I'm telling you exactly what to work on, and I'm telling you to ignore the other stuff. Because if I told you to do that other stuff, A, I might get it wrong because your body is different than the next person's, but B, that has to be individual to you. I just make sure you follow the laws of physics and then allow the rest to happen. Okay, that's the highest level of disc golf teaching there is because it applies to everybody. And I'm going to beat a dead horse here for a minute more. There's examples in every other sport of this. So for example, in baseball, if every single baseball pitcher had the identical body, then everybody would pitch with their arm in the identical arm slot. There would be an optimal position for your arm to throw from, because if you throw lower or higher, you lose velocity or cause injuries. There would be a specific correct way to throw, but there's not. Pitchers throw from up here, some throw down here, I'm moving away from the camera. But people's arm slots when they pitch, some throw from up here, some throw from here, some throw from here. Why is that? Well, the reason why is that everybody's shoulder's different. Every Major League Baseball no Major League Baseball pitcher is throwing the ball with their arm in the wrong place. You couldn't compete at the highest level if you did that. No, they are throwing where their shoulder most efficiently places their arm. That's the individual body type. There can't be a universal arm slot in baseball pitching, but there are fundamental mechanical rules to pitching that every pitcher who's ever played Major League Baseball follows because that's physics. And the other example I'm going to give you is ball golf, right? There are rules to how you're supposed to swing a golf club in ball golf, right? There are fundamental rules that every pro on the PGA Tour in the history of ball golf has done. They've all done these certain things because that's physics. But when you watch 10 different pros swing a club, they're going at different angles. Their wrist and stuff are bending at different positions on the backswing, right? You can't tell a player to copy another player's swing exactly because their body's different. Their elbows are going to bend at a different place. The plane of the club is going to come in at different angles. If they all had the same body, they would all have the identical swing. So disc golf just hadn't evolved to a point where we recognized that. So disc golf, because we were a new sport, had got to a point where they said, "Oh, look at that player's the best player in the world. You should throw like him or her." And the answer is that's a half truth. The truth is there's certain things they do that you must do, but certain things that must always be individual to your own body. That's your swing plane. That's your arm slot in other sports. So kind of a long answer, but this is my teaching philosophy to a T. Identifying the things you must do because of physics, and then giving you the freedom to allow the other parts to happen automatically based on your individual body, and it works. By the way, unfortunately, I can't just put this in a short YouTube video. This is where you got to come to my events live or take my online class, which you can read about at scottstokely.net. There's way more to it than can be explained here. It's a whole package of information and a philosophy you have to learn. That's the Stokely Disc Golf Method. So my online class, scottstokely.net. It's a 6-month online class where I cover all this, or come out to my fairway field trips or my seminars. Long answer, but that's what I believe. But I can easily defend this as a teaching philosophy. Someone says, and he watched the video why my discs are named after birds, and I love it. I know, it's kind of fun, right? It's not what you would think. Like, I'm still a guy. I still like that birds are murderous death machines that kill silently from above. Like, I'm a man. I'm always going to think that's cool. Are you coming to the Northeast, specifically Vermont? Would love to meet you. Yeah, I'm planning on coming to, well, first off, yes, I'm going to go everywhere. I'm never going to not be on the road traveling the world teaching disc golf. I'll be doing that the rest of my life. So I will be there, whether it's, I think I'll be in Vermont this year, but I can't say for sure.
It's a matter of when.
It's a matter of when, not if. But yes, of course I will. I'll tell you this. I almost never go 2 consecutive years without visiting a state. So I can't visit all 50 states every year and run events, but I make a really good point, if I can, of like, what states did I not get to this year? I'm going to get to them next year, which is really easy to do because it's more like regions. Like, for instance, if I don't get to New England this year, there's no way I miss New England the following year, because like, I'll be in the New England area. Plus all of New England's the size of LA, so pretty easy. Beth says, I cannot wait to see you in Florence. It's going to be great to see you as well, Beth. Let's see. You can't go wrong with some early ECW. Thank you, Christy. Yeah, exactly. Well, we're not talking about WWE ECW, Christy. We're talking about that was not ECW. That was a joke. But unlike everybody else, everyone loves ECW. We need a Stokely starter set. Yeah, we're about to put something together. We have a straight flying mid-range that when we release it, we'll have our starter set. For now, though, you cannot go wrong with if you're looking for a starter set, you cannot go wrong with a Lark, a Juju. A Lark is your driver, straight flying driver. Your Juju is a straight flying mid-range, and then either a Finch or a Wren as your putter, beaded versus non-beaded. You cannot go wrong with those, which you can get at StokelyDiscs.com after you check with your local retailer. I'm getting a foot of snow today. Are there any drills that I can do inside without throwing? Depends on how much room you have. If you can putt, I don't know. I have over the years of touring, I've practiced more in hotel rooms where there's like a couch against the wall of the hotel room, and then I put a cushion on top of the couch, and then I putt into the cushion just as a way of practicing my timing. This is when I was younger and I was a little bit more motivated, like where I couldn't stop throwing. I remember sitting like in a hotel one time with Ron Russell, and I swear we putted into like this one cushion against the couch for like probably 5 hours. Ron ended up, when he was in Miami, I think Ron won the tournament the next day even. But I guess it didn't help me that much that day, but it helped Ron. Let's see. I live in upstate New York and ready for snow. I feel for the people who haven't seen much snow. Some places just aren't prepared for the storm like this. Yeah, they're just not prepared. Like the thing about the South, I love the South. Like this is the most like I'm sorry, the people in the South are the most resilient people that they know the word neighbor means. And I know this there's good people everywhere. So I just because I'm talking highly of the South doesn't mean I'm pooping on other places. Don't get all offended at other places. But I mean in the South, I mean, like if there's a flood in the South, like people literally risk their lives for neighbors they've never met before or strangers in their town. Like you see this all the time. You see someone getting caught in a flood and you see five men out there with like they grab a garden hose off someone's front yard and tie it around their waist and they get into some river where if the garden hose breaks, they're going to die just to rescue some stranger who got probably shouldn't have been driving across the road in the first place. Like whenever you see stuff like that, it's very common that you see that stuff in the South. So the people in the South can definitely handle the snow. Um, just not maybe just not maybe not that first day. No one has snow tires here. You got to keep that in mind, you guys. They don't even have like up in Colorado, you either had snow tires or you kind of just always had all-purpose tires. They don't have that down here. They do have pickup trucks though, so they got the trucks. Um, why do I putt better in my backyard practice basket than on the course not so well? Okay, Rick, I'm not going to get into like a long psychology video, but it's such a common question. Why do I putt better in my backyard and practice not on the course? So you need to replicate what you do in practice on the course. Okay. If you have a putting routine that you use at tournaments, but then you don't have a putting routine in your backyard, yet you're better in the backyard, don't do your putting routine in a tournament. Like, don't change what you do in the backyard at a tournament. Like this is a really short answer to a very complex question on psychology. But the fact is that the vast majority of people play better in practice than they do in competition. Okay, that is 99 point something percent of people. And by the way, I'm not just making that up. I mean, there's the data shows people are better in practice than in competition in almost every case. And in most cases, people do things different in a competition than they do when they practice. So they're better in practice, they change things and then get worse and then wonder why they're getting worse. And a big reason for it is you're changing things. And the minute you change things, you're also reminding yourself, I'm not in my backyard. I'm at a tournament. So the best thing you can do is try to replicate what you do when you're at your best, which is in most cases practice. Replicate that in competitive situations. That's probably my short answer for advice. Mhm. Let's see. You're putting down sand. And the snowplow couldn't get it running. Let's see. North Carolina over. Let's see. I'm scrolling down. All right. Anthony says, let's see. Let's see. Anthony says, I started because I found a disc when I gave it to a guy who lost it. He said it was his favorite disc. And thank you. He gave me a Mamba and I putted and everything. And now you carry discs to give out. Only give to a few people, but still, that's fantastic. Keep doing that, Anthony. The more we can get people to play the game, the better. Everybody that God, we have the best community in the world, don't we? People giving stuff out. And Dallas Garber and Stokely at the preserve doubles could be a nice story. I think you guys could compete. I would probably play with Dallas if he was up for it, but I also know that by the time we get to the preserve, Dallas is going to be an extremely extremely coveted player with a chance to win, and I think that Dallas will have the opportunity to play with a 10-30 or a 10-40 player at that point, and I would never get in his way. I would play with him if you let me, though, all day. All right, let's see. Okay. I'm scrolling down. I'm going to get to a few more questions. I'm going to give shorter answers because we're going to be. I got to watch the. I haven't watched a football game in years. I've been so busy. The lamp called you a slur when you walked. When I walked away. The lamp. It's a rude lamp.
I love lamb.
I love lamp. Lisa Lampanelli. Maybe because that's why Lisa Lampanelli is called Lisa Lampanelli. Yeah, if you're buying online though, it's like being a tourist. Mom and pop might be good and better, but you know and understand Chili's. Yeah, I'm not knocking anybody that eats at Chili's. Chili's has good food. Applebee's has good food. All the big chains have good food. Except for one. I don't want to say I don't want to throw PF Chang under the bus. So I'm not going to talk about which chain has terrible food because it would be rude to PF Chang if I mentioned that company by name.
And I thought you were going to say TGI Fridays.
TGI Fridays is just bar food. It's fine.
Not.
It's not great. Okay. Well, but most of these big chains have their food's fine. Like I hate when people say the food sucks there. No, it doesn't. The food's good. But for us, it's just we want to give our money to a person who's trying to live the American dream. And we avoid I won't take that back. I eat at Cane's and I always eat at Skyline Chili when I'm there. And I got a thing for Brahms milkshake. So I don't avoid chains just to make a point, but we eat local because I want to give my money to a local business. I am a small business. I know exactly what it's like to I'm trying to compete against the biggest companies in the world with Stokely discs. And the more you guys are on board with this, the more I can do it, which was, I'm not asking you to do as a favor to me. I want you to do because these discs are great. And so it's StokelyDiscs.com if you want to give Stokely Discs a try. Someone says I'm very nice to people. That's because I got you fooled. You think I'm nice. They think I'm nice. They're buying it. They're buying it hook, line, and sinker. Can you believe these suckers think I'm... Oh, shit, we're still recording. What I mean is you're all attractive and smart. Hope they didn't hear that part. No, I like being nice to everybody. You've never heard me say a bad word about anybody. You know, it's really funny. People are like, wow, Scott Stokely likes everyone. No, I don't. Like, are you kidding me? Of course I don't like everybody. I just don't say bad things about people because if I don't like somebody, that's between me and my opinion. I don't feel like it's my obligation or responsibility to try to make somebody else not like somebody. Maybe you've had a great experience with that person. Maybe that person did you a favor or helped you out or was good to your kid, signed your autographs or whatever. Like, I'm not going to shit on somebody else just because my interaction with them was bad. I think that's weird. I don't know. Isn't that weird to you? Mm-hmm. Like, I don't like, and by the way, I don't waste my theory is I don't waste a single bit of, I don't burn a single calorie hating people. I nothing people. So if I don't like somebody, I just don't think about them. They don't occupy space in my brain. You know, I think it's one of the, I think it is, you know, and I don't want to get off into some little tirade here, but this, to me, this is one of the things that is what masculinity is. Like, there's a misunderstood of like masculinity being machismo and this and that. No, I think masculinity, one of the things is not letting stuff get in here and mess with you, like having control over your own emotions. And I do control my emotions and I don't let the negative people occupy space because that's not how I want to be. But it doesn't mean I like everybody. There's people I don't like. There's people I can't stand. But I'm not around those people. I don't have to hang out with them. So what do I care if I can't stand them? Maybe you meet them and you love them, and that's great. I had nothing against that. All right. That was way deeper than I intended. Why is my plastic so much more awesome than the others? Yes, that's a great question. Why is my plastic more awesome than all the other companies? Actually, there is a player, a top player on the Pro Tour, who every time he walks by my table, right? Is this not true, Adriana?
Yeah.
Every time he walks by, he goes, "You have the best plastic in the sport." And I'm just going to say he is one of the several best players in the entire world. And he says, "You have the best plastic in the sport." And how many times every time he walks by, he says it, right?
Yeah.
Every single time he walks by and says it. And I'm like, I go, "I would love to make a video where you praised how good my plastic is." And I said, "I'm going to talk to the owner of the company who sponsors you, because I'm friends with everybody, and I'm going to ask him permission." So I sent the owner of the company several emails, and I said, "Hey, this player loves my plastic. Can I make a video where he talks about how good the plastic is?" Crickets. I didn't get a single reply. Okay, no big deal. I understand that. But then I bumped into them at a major tournament that they were sponsoring. And I grabbed them and I sat them down and I said, now I'm face to face. I said, "I would like your top sponsor player to make a video talking about how great my plastic is. How do you feel about that?" And his answer was, "Absolutely not." Like, of course he's going to say no, but in my experience is, you miss what's the expression? You miss every shot you don't take. I cast out a lot of lures. Every once in a while, you get surprised when you get an answer where, "Oh my, wait, what?" I basically said to him, I go, "Look, I'm not a threat to you. I'm not your competitor. I'm some small little guy trying to make it in the world. It's not going to harm you if he makes a video about my discs." And he still said no. But I tried. And I won't even mention his name because I don't want to get anybody in trouble. All right. Oh, so the PDJ didn't respond. Yeah, squeaky wheel. I don't know what to say. Maybe be a squeaky wheel and write him again. I don't know what to say, Beth. We'll chat when I see you in Alabama. Looking forward to buying my discs in March 2026 when the Minnesota weather warms up. Thanks for the live. Hey, Scott, you know what you can do? I know the weather won't be warm until March up in Minnesota, but what you could do is you could buy Stokely discs, and then when you're sitting around for the next couple months, just do this. Oh, God, that feels so good. Oh, I can't wait to throw this. Let's listen to this. Listen. You feel, oh my God, this is so tacky. Oh my God, the Robin from Stokely discs feels so good in my hand. Ooh, and then when you go to bed at night, you put it on your pillow. Well, you put it in a pillowcase, like you're not an animal. You put it in a pillowcase and you sleep next to your Robin at night. And you bond with your disc. And then come March, you'll be ready to throw it. That's my suggestion. And I'm a teacher. I'm good at teaching disc golf. So that's my advice for the day. The aeronautical term for nose angle is angle of attack, which can bring up some helpful visuals and a search. Aero drag is high on sharp surfaces, and letting the top of the disc helps distance. Helping the top see the air helps distance. Yeah, I mean, for the most part, to a large extent, discs fly like wings. It has to do with air going over the top of the disc and under the disc, and the speed and the distance the air has to travel, and it catches up and blah, blah, blah. That's what creates lift. What's interesting, though, about disc flights is the wing of the disc has by far the most effect on the flight of the disc. And the reason I know this is because when you put the grooves on top of the disc, like the Ching Juju, 5 different distances for thumb placement, this disc has no difference in flight with these on top. And I can say this because I have a Ching disc with a unique top on it, that I also have a version of that disc without the top. They do not fly differently. They fly the same. So that does not affect the flight. As strange as it sounds, that doesn't affect the flight. The wing of the disc does. All right. I just started playing disc golf in October, and you're hooked. Do you have any of your workshop seminars in the Northeast? 100% I will be there. I just can't tell you when yet.
Stokely.
Go. Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah. Oh, there's a couple to go to StokelyDiscs.com. No, sorry, ScottStokely.net. Get on the mailing list, and we let people know. But if you follow me, you're gonna get notified. But connect to your local community. If I'm going to be anywhere near your area, I will be posting all over your local social media groups. You'll hear about it if you connect to the local community, for sure. If you ever come to Rochester, New York, I would love to play around at Shadow Pines. I love Rochester, New York. I was there for the World Championships in 1999. I finished fourth. Yeah, I think I finished fourth place there. That was right when I had back problems back then, so I was phasing out. My back's better now, but at the time. Let's see. Come to Shriners, Scott. We can play Victoria. I'll be everywhere. Chicagoland. All right. All right, guys. Let's see. I got a couple more questions, and then I'm going to log out for the day. I'm so glad everybody joined me. You guys are the best. Let's see here. What do you recommend for choosing a weight? Choosing a weight. Oh, here, this is a good question about choosing a weight. By the way, I'm going to point this out because I'm trying to run my company at StokeleyDiscs.com. Every single disc is individually photographed. So you're not just buying a disc and hoping you get what you want. You're going to get the disc and the weight that you want. The disc, the weight, the color, the foil stamp, everything. So you can actually choose your exact specific disc, which is really nice. As far as weight, lighter flies farther, depending on how fast you throw. If you throw far, discs in the 160s, no matter who you are, will fly farther than discs in the 170s. We're talking about neutral conditions. If you throw, let's say, your driver under 300 feet, discs in the probably the high 50s and low 60s are going to fly farther than discs in the high 60s. The difference is not great, but that is going to be, it's going to be there. If you're throwing with a tailwind, no matter who you are, going a little bit lighter will fly farther. If you're throwing into a headwind, however, throwing a heavier disc will fight the wind better. So in a headwind, you would generally go up in weight. Here's the thing. Here's the trade-off. A lot of people find that throwing lighter discs are harder to control. Now, I happen to be one of them. Whereas I can control a disc that weighs 165 grams. I'm pretty accurate with that, but I'll throw a 174 gram disc a little more accurate. I'll throw 165 gram discs a little bit farther. I will always choose accuracy over distance. Now, when I say that, you might say, well, yeah, but you throw far, because I throw pretty damn far. But I'm not measuring my distance against the sport of disc golf. When I'm at a disc golf pro tour event, I'm measuring my distance against them. And even though my sidearm flies as far as anybody on the disc golf pro tour or farther, my backhand does not. My backhand distance is probably in the 65th percentile. Like, it's maybe a little better than average on the pro tour, but there's plenty of people that throw their backhands way farther than me on the pro tour. So yes, having more distance with my backhand against those players would help, and I still throw max weight discs because I choose accuracy over distance. So even when I need distance, I personally choose accuracy. But that choice is up to you. All right, guys, we're about to wrap it up. Oh yeah, someone says I love watching Eric Jenkins. Dude, Eric's such a sweet guy. He's down in I think he's outside of Cincinnati. Well, no, Cincinnati or Louisville. I know he's down in Kentucky. Yeah, it all blurs together. No, but yeah, Eric's a great guy. He's a good friend of mine too. I love that guy. He's so much fun, and he makes good videos too. He's using the Rand and talking about the plastic. All right, guys, I'm going to give one more pitch before I get out of here and put the game on. I know I'm making a big commercial for my discs, but I used to look. I mean, the only time I've ever really worked in my life, I've been in sales, and I tried to avoid being salesy with my discs. If you look at my content over the last 5 years, I mean, several thousand videos, I almost never had a call to action, or when I talked about buying something specifically, almost everything I did simply just said, this is a tutorial video, or I'm going to be funny or entertaining or something, right? And I didn't try to sell anything in the vast majority of videos because I didn't want to. I wanted to do stuff that was just fun, and I didn't want to subject everybody to me trying to sell something. That was a really noble goal on my part. It also wasn't good for my business. If you've noticed, if you followed me for a while, the last few months, I've actually been making videos with a specific call to action. I put a picture of a disc up. Here's the link to buy it, and it's working a lot better. So I have to do this for my business. So I'm going to try to keep a balance where I'm not just always trying to sell something, but I'm going to give one more pitch for you guys. I make great golf discs at Stokely Discs. You get them at StokelyDiscs.com. Check with your local retail store, but give these discs a try. You are going to love them. What disc you throw, everybody makes good discs. That's just the reality. Like, it's like golf clubs. I mean, everyone makes good golf clubs. Everybody makes good tennis rackets. Everybody makes good golf discs. We're working with the same tech standards. So really it comes down to, if everybody has a putter like the Wren that is a beadless putter that flies straight, well then who you choose really actually more than anything comes down to like who you want to give your money to, right? You're going to, which company do you want to support? Like maybe you're supporting the touring pro that you like. Okay, well then cool, support those guys. Maybe there's a company that has some charitable initiative you're a fan of. Go support them. You also have the option of supporting what I do. You know, that doesn't mean I'm better or more important or cooler than the other companies out there, but I do good stuff. I put a lot of effort into teaching disc golf for free. I put a lot of effort into a lot of stuff. If you want to support what I do, give my discs a try. If you try my discs and like them, keep throwing them. Tell people, make videos. The more people rally behind what I do, you guys, if you follow me, you probably know this by now. You know exactly what I'm going to be doing with my company as I get bigger. I'm only going to put more money into growing the sport globally, growing it for special needs communities, teaching people disc golf. Like, I'm weird when it comes to money. You all know this. Like, I have an agenda, and my agenda is not to stuff money in my mattress. My agenda is to do cool things to make the sport good for people. So I want you to try my discs because you're trying a new company. And then once you throw my discs and you love them, then keep throwing them because they're awesome. But I want people to, I want you guys to give them a try. So go to StokelyDiscs.com to try them out. But if your local retail store carries them, I want you to shop local first. I mean, this is really important that you support the local entrepreneurs in the sport because they are the ones running leagues, putting courses in, making the sport grow. So always give them first shot at your business. But if they don't carry my discs or they don't carry the models that you want, yeah, StokelyDiscs.com is a great place to get behind this thing, this movement. I'm taking on the world. I'm going to try to take on these juggernauts, but I cannot do it without all of you. So there's my pitch. I hope you guys get on board. StokelyDiscs.com. Check out these discs. You're absolutely going to love them. And join Discord server, scottstokely.net/Discord. And I'll tell you what, as long as I got you here, I'm going to take 2 more minutes, give you a quick rundown of what each of the discs does in case this is new to you. The Robin is the straightest flying fairway driver out there. If you throw, like, say, 250 feet or further, this disc is like someone actually made a store made a video called this the most underrated fairway driver on the market. I was very flattered because there's a lot of good discs out there. It flies dead straight. If you throw under 250 feet, then the Lark is going to fly dead straight for you as far as a fairway driver. Like, it's a perfectly true flying disc. Now, if you throw this disc a little faster, then it becomes an understable driver that'll turn for you. That's also useful for turnover shots and rollers. The Finch and the Wren. The Finch is the beaded version of the Wren. It has that little bead on the bottom. This is the Finch. That gives it a little deeper rim, which means it just feels different in your hand. But they both are going to fly straight. The owl is an overstable approach disc. If you like the zone, which everyone likes the zone because the zone from Discraft is phenomenal, it's more overstable. It has more of a fade. So if you throw it right-handed backhand, it'll turn left faster than a zone, but not as fast as the zone OS. It kind of fills the gap between those two. This disc also does not give two shits how windy it is. Okay, when you throw this disc into a wind, it will hold its angle. It will fight the wind. It will not turn over. It is so easy to control in the wind. Like, everybody needs to be bagging this disc for the wind. I will warn you ahead of time, it's not an all-purpose approach disc, okay? Because it is overstable, meaning it turns left on right-handed backhands. If you have one approach disc, this isn't the disc you want to throw because it does one specific thing. It's great at its thing, not all-purpose. Also, with the owl, it is the easiest approach disc out there to throw sidearm. The reason why is that it is very narrow rim underneath. Typically with sidearms, even though you're just reversing the spin of the disc, the deeper the rim, right? In other words, the longer the distance from under the disc to the bottom edge, typically the more the disc comes out with wobble. And so the more narrow makes it easier to throw sidearm as well. Straightest flying mid-range disc in the world is the Juju from Ching Discs, which we own, with 5 different thumb grooves to place your thumb for all the different shots. Not all different shots. 5 different thumb grooves to find where your thumb best fits, and then you can put it in that spot every time. The thumb groove helps you grip the disc, by the way, when your hands are sweaty or when it's cold. Super useful because the bottom of the disc is super easy to grip. You just curl your fingers under the rim, right? That's easy to grip the bottom. But the top of every disc made requires friction. Well, the little divot here is that little bit that gives you a little bit more to grip that friction alone doesn't give you. And the Peregrine is our first high-speed driver. It is overstable, okay? This is not an all-purpose high-speed driver. I released this one first because I need it in my bag. If you have an arm and you can throw over 300 feet, you can probably start to throw the Peregrine. If you throw a right-handed backhand, it's going to turn left hard. It is going to resist the wind, like big time resist the wind. Like it cuts the wind. It will not, like it's not going to turn over and get out of control in the wind. But it is, again, it's for a specific shot. It's for hard left turn shots when you throw a backhand. But the Peregrine is great. We also have the Cardinal and the Precision as well. The Cardinal, I didn't bring any out. The Cardinal is an overstable approach disc. Okay, not as overstable as the Owl, but it's not a perfectly straight flying approach disc. It turns left. But for me, wait, did I say approach? Sorry, mid-range. It flies farther than an approach, not as far as a driver. Think about like a Buzz OS kind of a flight, except it's a little, to me, I like to grip it a little better. And then the Precision flies like the Juju, but faster. So the Juju, even though you can drive with it, I would call this disc more of an approach disc just because look at the side rim. It has very little bevel to it. You can drive with this, but I think the Precision's a little bit better for driving because it's a little bit faster, but it flies exactly the same, straight with no fade, where the Juju's slower. So I throw this for the approach shots, and then on similar shots a little farther, that's where I like the Precision. All right, you guys. ScottStokely.net/Discord. That's the inner circle. That's where you're going to get all the feedback on, not all the feedback. That's where you're going to be able to connect with all the people that are throwing Stokely discs or following what I do. Not just disc golf stuff in there. There's all sorts of other things we talk about besides disc golf. We're building this cool community of people. We're going to be calling it the flock because bird names of discs. We're going to start giving preferential treatment to flock members. So if you start connecting in the Discord now, we're going to be doing things that are only for people on the Discord server because they're part of our inner circle. So the more you connect and get active in the Discord, the more you can be a part of this thing, right? I hope you all join it. And I'm done selling you stuff. I love you guys. Thank you all for tuning in. I hope everybody stayed safe during the cold. And was there anything else? I can't think of anything else. Do you want to earn one more day in the contract? Can you think of anything else I could add? Nope, you're stuck at 11 days. Okay, so she has, guys, Adriana may be single in 12 days if she doesn't come up with something good. So just so you know, TikTok, she might be on the market in 12 days. What? Hey, I don't guarantee. I don't do contract guarantees. You have 11 days. I wonder how many people think I'm joking. They're probably going to hate. Some people probably going to hate me. Just so you know, though, 12 days, mark it on your calendar. You can message me and ask me if Janet's available in 12 days if she doesn't come up with any cool business ideas in the next 11. All right, thanks, everybody. Y'all are the best.